What's up, stoners? Cewpins here with 5 more tips for new stoners. I made a video last week with 5 tips and I asked you guys if I should make a part 2. I have a bunch of tips written down and a lot of you commented to go ahead and make a part 2. So here it is, 5 more tips for new stoners. So my first tip is get a good piece. Don't cheap out. If you do a little bit of research and you maybe try some things out, spend a little bit more than you were planning to, you might get something that's going to be way better and last you a long time. As you can tell, I have a ton of glass. I have a ton of pieces. I've just spent so much money at head shops that I feel like I have a good grasp of this. If you don't need to buy everything, as someone who's bought everything, you don't need to buy it all. A good example of this is something I talked about on my Twitch stream the other day, where I go live on Twitch every night for a smoke sesh. You haven't tuned in yet? Link in Amazon Prime to a Twitch account. You can subscribe for free and give me that Jeff Bezos money. I might spend it on more glass. Shh. What if I did a glass giveaway if we hit a certain amount of primes? I think we're close to 1,000. Anyway, link your primes. But this is something I talked about the other day on my stream is you might want to invest a little bit more to get something solid. A good example for me is torches. I probably spent $300 or $400 on torches before I got the torch that I've had for years. I would just go into the head shop and get whatever the discount torch was. I'd go into Harbor Freight and get the $8 torch from there. But I did end up buying a ton of them from head shops that just weren't any good. Little butane can toppers, little small torches. Most torches out there aren't that great. The only torch that I can recommend is a Blazer Big Shot. It's like an $80, $90 torch, but I've had the same one since 2016 and it works still. And they also got another new teal one that works amazing. So it costs more than any of the other torches I bought, but if you add up all of the torches that I bought that I can't use anymore, it's way cheaper. And this is true. This has happened to me with glass before. I just went into the head shop, got the cheapest piece a few times, and it just breaks over time. It's the flimsiest glass, or it's just not the easiest to maintain. There's some really weak, really thin glass out there. If you just roll into the head shop and shell out some cash for the cheapest Rick and Morty bong they have in there, you're probably not getting a good one. So sometimes spending a little bit more will get you something that's gonna last you a long time. The beaker bong that I use almost every day, I got it 3 years ago and it's still in perfect condition. I use this example in another video, but e-rigs, I have so many e-rigs that just don't hit that great. I have over $2,000 in e-rigs and there's only one that I really recommend. But it costs a bit more than the others, but there's reasons I would recommend it over the others. It's the Puffco Peak Pro, if you were wondering. Just a better battery life and it hits better than all the other ones. I think there's gonna be a better option or a cheaper option coming soon. Somebody's gotta beat Puffco. My next tip, and this kind of plays into the last one, but clean your piece every day. If you're using a glass piece, which is what I do every day, if you're using a glass bong or something, clean it every day. It's easier to clean if you clean it every day. If you wait weeks or months, it's like a chore to clean. It's really, really hard. Most people that struggle with cleaning their bong just waited way too long to clean it. And all the resin, everything on the inside is just gonna start staining your glass and become harder and harder to clean the longer you let it sit. So get yourself a nice piece, but maintain it. Keep it clean every day. If you clean your piece every day, it takes a minute or two. If you wait 3, 4, 5 weeks to clean your piece, it's gonna take you a while. And you probably won't get it as clean as you could if you just maintained it a little bit every day. Couple of spritz and 91% ISO from Walgreens, it's gonna be easily cleaned. And I don't really use papers, but that's one of the benefits of smoking out of papers. You spend 99 cents, you get 50 raw papers, you get a fresh, clean piece of paper every time. I mean, it's not as clean as smoking out of clean glass, but you get what I'm saying. Keep your piece or your glass clean, but if it has a removable downstem, that's where a lot of the buildup is going to occur. Keep that clean and keep your bowl clean. There's a lot of people out there who clean their bong pretty often, or they keep the piece clean, but they just don't clean their bowl. And they're going to put a resin caked bowl in a freshly cleaned piece and then pack it with fresh green and then hit it. Your piece is dirty. That's like changing all your clothes on the outside, but you've been wearing the same underwear for weeks. Bro, clean your bowl. My next tip is focus on breathing when you hit. Before I really got into smoking regularly, I practiced and studied Tai Chi, and I thought a lot about breathing. This is something I was talking about last night on my Twitch stream, but I thought about breathing a lot before I ever even started smoking. I mean, meditating is literally just sitting there with a specific breathing pattern and just thinking about breathing in some cases. So I would meditate on my bong rips. But usually before I take a big rip, and I think a big rip is better than just taking a casual little puff here and there, but when I take a big rip, I do big hits of oxygen before. I do nice deep breaths. I want to fill my lungs completely and then exhale completely. And I think exhaling completely is an important step that a lot of people don't really focus on, but it will help you to minimize coughing and minimize harshness in your throat. But a lot of people can enhance their hit if they focus on just a few deep breaths before, like stretch your lungs out, get them ready for smoke. And also think about the fact that when you're taking your rip, you're not really pulling in oxygen into your lungs. You might pull in like a pieceful, like a bong full of oxygen. When your lungs start to fill up with smoke, if your blood isn't really oxygenated, you're going to start feeling that sensation like you're running out of breath. So before you take a big hit, take a nice big hit of air. Take a few of them. Get your lungs ready. Get your blood nice and oxygenated. Get ready for a huge hit. Inhale fully. And some people, they don't really get a full inhale. Just know that when you smoke, when you do huge hits, you might not get it all. I'm not saying you're going to do like a full mouth hit, but when the hit is so big, sometimes you can't quite pull in all the smoke you produced. I've done huge combusted rips off like my 30-inch beaker, packing 3 bowls on there, where you're just inhaling and inhaling and the smoke never stops. Sometimes you can't inhale every last drop, but try to inhale as much of it as you can because that's what's getting you high. A good way to get into this, especially if you're new, is don't take the biggest hit that you can. Take like a medium hit and then inhale a little bit of oxygen after, so you know what that feels like when it goes completely in. But it's also okay when you're taking a huge monstrous rip if the piece that you have is just constantly producing smoke. If you keep pulling, eventually you're just going to hit the wall. And you didn't hit the wall after the smoke kept going in your mouth. It's still coming out of the piece. So sometimes on the bigger hits, you'll have a little bit of a mouth hit in there. But focus on breathing it in completely as much as you can. And then after that, you don't have to hold it. You don't have to like lock in the hit or anything or hold on to it for a minute. People do crazy stuff with their hits. Focus on a good exhale. You want to do a full breath with the smoke. Full in and then the full out. And I mean like focus on your exhale. Try to get every last bit of smoke out. One of the things that makes people cough is they do a shallow exhale. So when they go to inhale again, they haven't got all the smoke out of their lungs. So it's in there just irritating their lungs. It feels like maybe you got most of the smoke out, but you didn't get it all unless you fully exhaled. And you can notice this, or you can feel this a little bit more. If you like take a big hit and you try to talk when you exhale, you got air coming out of your mouth, you got your vocal cords vibrating with smoke traveling over it. That's going to irritate you a little bit and make you more likely to cough. So if you fully exhale all the smoke, you're going to have less possible irritation from like lingering smoke in your lungs. So focus on your breathing for your hit, before your hit, during your hit, and then after. Getting a nice exhale, completely removing all the smoke from your lungs from your hit, can make that next breath afterwards just a little bit easier. My next tip, and tip number 4, I think we're on, but you don't always have to be doing something when you're high. I feel like at one point, every time I was trying to sesh, I always had like an activity picked out. I always had like a game pulled up and I was ready to get into it on the start screen or something. Or I had a movie queued up and I was ready to watch it, or a show ready, or I was like on my way to go to like a hike or something. Which smoking can improve some activities. Obviously it makes shows better, games better, movies better, but you don't always have to be doing something when you're high. Sometimes it's nice to just smoke and relax. Sometimes that really, really good high, you just took a monster rip and you're just staring at the wall for a few minutes, just chilling, just in the zone of I'm high. I feel like for me, when I can get into that, or when I can tap into doing nothing when I'm high, I really feel the high. Like after you take a huge rip or something, sometimes it's okay to just sit there and bask in the moment, soak it in, really feel the high. If you're focused on doing something or watching something, you might not really enjoy that super relaxing high. Because for me, like, getting high is one of the most relaxing things. I feel like all day I'm constantly thinking about, all right, I got to do this. What can I do? Can I post over here? Can I reply to these messages? I got to check my email. I'm a couple weeks behind. I haven't read the Instagram DMs in 6 weeks. Sometimes there's just so much noise in my brain. And when I take that first hit, it's like, oh, it's like a shell just came off of me and I can really relax and just sit in a chair and enjoy the moment. Sometimes it's nice to do nothing when you're high and just be high. Okay, my last tip, I think we're on tip number 5. I haven't really been doing a great job of counting, but if you want me to do 5 more tips, leave me a comment. I have a bunch written down. But my next tip, and this is a bit of a controversial one, but you need to hear it. Say no to tobacco. Look, I get it. You can light them both on fire and smoke them both. They can be treated similarly. Stop mixing tobacco with your weed. You're ruining it. Like, I think we all know that blunts are trash. Like, bro, you're taking doo-doo paper and you're gonna wrap it around your bud and pretend like it's better. No, it's worse. I don't care how many artificial flavors you cram in there. It's worse. Nah, bro, just take it to the sink and scrub it off and then it's totally good. It's worse. Putting tobacco in your bowls like chops and mole bowls or like spliffs, bro. People that smoke spliffs, what are you doing? Now, I've done them all. I think some of my first sessions were off blunts. I've done mole bowls or chops or whatever you want to call them. I've tried a lot of the things, but I can see for a lot of people, it's not the way to go. There's so many people out there that just start seshing with blunts. They just pull up to the smoke circle and their friend hands them a blunt. And every time they go to get high, it's just a blunt. There's a lot of people out there that associate smoking weed with it's got to be in a blunt. They don't have a glass piece. They don't have a pipe, a bubbler, a bong, nothing like that. It's just, let me go get some swishers and roll it up. Now, as a new stoner, I would advise just avoiding any tobacco completely. Because you're getting like a combination of two things. You're smoking the weed, but like you're smoking tobacco. Tobacco, I think, is way worse for you than smoking weed. And then it's also going to add like a layer of addiction. There's so many people out there, they can't get high unless it's in a blunt wrap because they're addicted to the tobacco. Like the weed doesn't do anything unless they got the tobacco on it. Or it doesn't give them that same sensation that they look for every day when they're just feeding into their nicotine addiction. So as a new stoner, I highly recommend just cut the blunts out. Say no to blunts, say no to spliffs, say no to mole bowls, say no to chops. If somebody's like, yeah, let's mix tobacco in it, say, how much do you hate the weed? Either way, let me know if I should drop a part 3. Come smoke with me on Twitch. If it's after 9 p.m. Eastern, I'm probably live right now getting high. Where you at? And if you missed my first video of 5 tips for new stoners, check out this video right here. These are the 5 tips that preceded these 5 tips. Have a lit day, my dudes.